So friends, we just saw the real-world consequences of DOJ deciding not to indict people when they defy congressional subpoenas. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, let's have a look at the real-world consequences of the Department of Justice deciding not to prosecute people who plainly commit federal crimes. And let's use as an example something that we learned from Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony to the January 6th committee. There's a great article out today. It's a piece in Salon, authored by Harvard Law professor Lawrence Tribe and former federal prosecutor Dennis Aftergut. Here is the title of that piece. Scene of the crime. Was there a conspiracy to keep Cassidy Hutchinson silent? And the article goes on to lay out the evidence that, to this old prosecutor's eye, sure looks like there was a conspiracy to keep Cassidy Hutchinson silent, to keep Miss Hutchinson from incriminating Donald Trump. But I want to focus on one particularly disturbing aspect of what we learned from Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony. And it's not even that one of Donald Trump's former lawyers, a White House ethics counsel, a guy named Stefan Passantino, undertook to represent Cassidy Hutchinson, but was being paid his legal fees by, quote, Trump world. And when Miss Hutchinson was asking Passantino who's paying these legal bills, he wouldn't even tell her. So it sure looks like Passantino was doing Donald Trump's bidding, protecting Donald Trump's legal interests rather than the legal interests of his own client, Cassidy Hutchinson. That's not even the most aggravating part. Nor is the most aggravating part that, according to Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, she said that Passantino said, look, we just want to focus on protecting the president. You know, a lawyer's supposed to focus on protecting the legal rights of his client. Now, friends, you may recall the first couple of times Ms. Hutchinson appeared before the J6 committee when she was being represented by Stefan Passantino, her answers were a whole lot of, I don't remember. And she would later go on to tell the committee she actually did recall a number of things that she claimed not to recall. Well, she got rid of Passantino, and she hired a lawyer who actually represented her legal interests, and she went back before the J6 committee, and she started telling the complete truth, including some of what Passantino had said to her and had done to her. With that in mind, here is what I want to focus on in today's article in Salon. Hutchinson said that after her third interview with the committee, Passantino recommended that she simply defy the committee's subpoena. He told her she needn't fear prosecution for such defiance, however unlawful. The Justice Department, he, Passantino, reminded her, had just announced that it was declining to prosecute Meadows and Dan Scavino, Trump's former social media director, for flouting the committee's subpoenas. And friends, there you have it. The real-world consequences of not prosecuting crime. Because those two men, Mark Meadows and Dan Scavino, defied lawfully issued congressional subpoenas. They inarguably committed the federal crime of contempt of Congress. And Congress referred those two men to the Department of Justice for prosecution for the crimes they committed against Congress, and DOJ refused to charge them, refused to indict them, refused to prosecute them for the crimes they committed, which gives the Passantinos of the world the precedent they need to tell their client, Cassidy Hutchinson, just go ahead and defy a congressional subpoena. In substance, go ahead and commit the crime of contempt of Congress. DOJ isn't going to do anything to you. Because look, they didn't prosecute Mark Meadows or Dan Scavino when those two men committed that crime. You know, friends, it would be like if the Department of Justice stopped prosecuting bank robbery. A whole lot more people would probably jump into the bank robbery game, right? Because they're like, well, they didn't prosecute the other bank robbers. I guess I can do it with impunity. This is not rocket science. This is just basic law enforcement. Prosecution 101. If you refuse to prosecute crime, expect more crime. If you refuse to prosecute crime, you're encouraging others to commit similar crimes. Now, friends, in the event you watched any of my earlier Justice Matters videos on this topic, you already know I vehemently disagreed with DOJ's decision not to prosecute Meadows for his crime, not to prosecute Scavino for his crime. But you know, this shows precisely how those decisions by DOJ can come home to roost. It encourages others to commit precisely the same crimes. So yes, in my estimation, DOJ blew this one. Not prosecuting high government officials who so grossly and offensively abuse the public trust by committing the crime of contempt of Congress. Let's just hope that Special Counsel Jack Smith, now that he's in charge of the insurrection investigation, does better. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.